So Superfan says, let's get Malik and Romeo for the mock. Well, if that's the case, I mean, this is going to be a fun mock. Dan Orlovsky. Yeah, we shouldn't use Dan Orlovsky for anything. Dan Orlovsky is terrible. Dan Orlovsky is also a CAA client, and they protect their clients. That's another thing. Some of the people commenting on TV have the same agents as the players. Did you know that? For example, Mina Kimes. You ever wonder how she's on every fucking show and she never says anything good? Well, she's a CAA client, not a CIA client. CAA, Creative Artists Agency, they do sports too. Dan Orlovsky, Mike Greenberg, Adam Schefter, all represented by CAA. You think they're going to put good stuff out about other CAA clients? I think they are. So you got to watch for that. Like Josh Allen, I think, is a CAA client. So they're going to talk up Josh Allen because that's their client, that's their agency brother. You understand? It's how this world fucking works. It's disgusting. We should decide which. Yeah, this is a good point by Braden. Not necessarily what DC, but what type of defense. That's much more important than who the DC is. So if we, for example, if we're going to run a 4-3 attack front defense, which I would not recommend, and I'm going to say something now that's going to hopefully educate you people in the chat. So if we run a 4-3 defense this year, that's what we decide to do. That's what AG has traditionally run. We would be then you need 8 to 10 defensive linemen, 3 of which who are really good, 4 of which are pretty good, and then some below average guys. So we would need a large quantity of defensive linemen to run a 4-3 defense properly for it to be any good. Okay, well, we'll just get a lot of them. What's the problem, Frankie? Well, the problem is that the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons and the Buffalo Bills and the San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions and the New Orleans Saints and the Washington Commanders and the Cleveland Browns and the Dallas Cowboys and the Kansas City Chiefs and all these teams run a 4-3. So that means all those teams are competing against you to sign free agents and draft people who can fit the 4-3. And we start out at a talent deficit relative to them because we only have 4 or 5 to start with. We need 8 to 10. All we got is Jermaine Johnson, Harrison Phillips, Juwan Briggs, Spinny McWinney, Will McDonald, and who else? Is that all we got? I should look up the roster. Who else we got, man? So we're going to need 5 or 6 of these motherfuckers, and we can't find them. They're hard to find. We might get 1 or 2 or 3, but then we're still very short. Let's look at this. Who am I forgetting? McGregor stinks. Watts stinks. Mozzie Smith stinks. Peyton Page. I mean, these people are bad. We don't even have anybody coming back off of IR. Jay Tufele is a free agent. I mean, it would be much easier for us to go to a 3-4 with a nice bare front too. We basically, Michael Clemens probably not coming back, obviously. Peyton Page is a P-squatter. Kalen Saunders is a free agent. We basically have 4 people. And you need 8 or 10. So that's a problem. Where the hell are we going to get all these? So I don't know. This is one of the big things having to do with AG's selection of a DC here. If you go 3-4, well, now you got enough defensive linemen, and now you just got to find some linebacker types. So that's 2 things. All right, let's go with Superfan. Malik, so let's go with Superfan, who says we're gonna be signing Malik and we're gonna be signing Romeo, Romy the homie. But now we got to decide, are we a 3-4 or a 4-3? That's not true, Superfan. If we go 3-4, guess who becomes an outside linebacker? Spinny McWinney, Jermaine Johnson. They can play it, and don't forget, a guy like T.J. Watt is a linebacker technically. Did you know that? Now, most of the time he's on the line. He's in a three-point stance. So that's going to be our Jermaine Johnson. Spinny McWinney, he can play the other role. Then you just need two guys in the middle. We already have one in Sherwood. Hopefully we get another one in Anzalone. And now you have your starters. And plus, that's going to decide, basically what I'm telling you is, whether we're a 3-4 or 4-3 is going to decide what the number 2 pick is. You see? So, all right. So Braden says Wink and a 3-4. All right. Now I would like that. Now, if you're listening to the Badlands people, they will tell you Wink is the same thing as Wilkes. I guess because both of their names start with a W. That's how dumb the people at Badlands are. But they'll tell you Wink is just another version of Steve Wilkes, which is hysterically funny and stupid. Bain can play both. No, he's better suited for a 4-3. I mean, he can play a 3-4. But if you are a 3-4, you really want Arvell Reese, because of what he can do and the flexibility he gives you. And you already have, like, you can take at 16 your other DT, and now you really have something. With Bain in a 3-4, now you're kind of light, because really Will McDonald should be a rotational player at this point, is what I'm saying. So it's not a matter of who can play both. It's like, how do you maximize your defensive front given what these players can do? Because Arvell Reese is fantastic, and so is Ruben Bain. But I would rather have Ruben Bain in a 4-3, because then I could play him at big defensive end and on first and second down. And then when it's third and long, I kick him inside and bring in my NASCAR package, and now I really have something. So that's why I like Bain more in a 4-3. Could he play in a 3-4? Yeah, he could. But you're not getting you're not maximizing his talents, I would say, in that scheme. But he could do it. Yeah, he could. But I like him as a big defensive end, sort of like a run-stuffing defensive end, edge setter on first and second down. Then third down, he kicks inside to defensive tackle, and I bring in my NASCAR package, and we go get the quarterback. Let's go. So that's kind of how I see him best used, whereas Reese is perfect for a 3-4 bear front, and so that's why I'm saying that. Reese and Styles. Could Reese go? No, we don't want Peter Woods. I'm not a big Woods fan, to be honest with you. I just don't see. He slipped a lot in the draft already. People were projecting him to go like top 3 or in the summertime. Now he's somewhere in the middle of the first round. I watched Peter Woods play a number of times. I'm not really that impressed by him. So let's go ahead and see if we can do a mock with a quarterback in place. We've got the simulator here. Let's see if we can do this. Shares. Let's see if this works. It might not. I may go off the air. Oh, it worked. All right. Tell me if you can see the mock draft simulator. Now we're just going to do 2 rounds. We shouldn't really do too many. We shouldn't do too many rounds. We got 4 picks in the first 2 rounds here. And you see the settings here. So let me know if you can see this, and let me know if we should change any of these settings. Maybe we should care more for positional value or draft for needs, more or less. I don't like to have any randomness. I'm not sure why they have randomness here. No team just randomly picks a guy. Like, that's weird. Braden can see it. All right. Oh, okay, but I can't bring up your comments. Okay, so Stacky can see it. All right, so if we don't want any changes, if this is how we want it to go, then we can enter the draft. Now, And we're saying we're at what? A 3-4 or a 4-3? Phil says he sees it on full screen. But what are we, a 4-3 or a 3-4? That's what we got to decide. So Phil wants to go 3-4. All right. That's what we'll do. So we're at 3-4. Let's enter the draft. Let's make it a little bigger. So the Raiders are on the clock. We're not going to do any trades, obviously. That gets a little crazy. So let's see. Well, they picked Fernando Mendoza. Since we're in a 3-4, now, look, they got Caleb Downs, the next valuable guy. We could take Caleb Downs. Yeah, we're just doing 2 rounds, Braden, because that's our first time. The reason we need to do the first 2 rounds is because we don't have a 3rd round pick. And then our 4th round and on, those guys are going to be backups and stuff. The impact players are going to be the first 2 rounds. So we got to get these first 4 picks right. That's the important thing. Now we got Caleb Downs sitting there. We got Arvell Reese sitting there. Jeremiah Love. Then here's Bain. David Bailey's another guy who's very interesting. Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver. Taters. They got Woods all the way up at 9. To me, that's too high. Then you got Sonny Styles, Makai Lemon at 11. Jermod McCoy, and also Keldrick Falk. I don't like him either. He had no production in college whatsoever. Not sure why he's so high. Cassius Howell's really high here, as is Caleb Banks. Wow. I would go all the way down at 19. McDonald at 21. This is kind of interesting. Reese all day. Yeah, so I would say we got to pick. This is pretty obvious. Even though I love a lot of these players, we're taking Arvell Reese. All right, now we're at 16. Let's see who was picked here. Lemon went 11th. Wow. Sonny Styles went 10th. Woods went 9th. Taters went 8th. Bailey went 7th. Love goes to the Browns. That doesn't make any sense. They already have good running backs. Jordan Tyson to the Giants. That makes sense. Bain goes to the Titans, so Robert Saleh gets Reuben Bain. You can probably put that down in pen that he's going to take a defensive lineman in the first round. I think we know that's going to happen. That's what he always does. So, yeah, that makes sense for old Robert Saleh down there. So we are here, and we're not going to take Banks. I would say we take Caden McDonald, our defensive tackle that we need to round out our 3-4. He would basically be, if we got Caden McDonald here, our 3 interior defensive linemen would be Briggs, Phillips, and McDonald, and that's pretty good. Then you'd have Reese and JJ on the outside, and JJ and Willie Spinney McWinney would kind of be like, you know, sometimes you'd use one, and sometimes you'd use the other. So I would say it's Caden McDonald here. I don't see any other tempting pieces. Any thoughts from the peanut gallery out there? I'm not sure why they have Banks ahead of McDonald. I think McDonald's a better prospect. Banks is an interesting prospect. He's been injured at Florida a lot, so I'm not sure why he would be so high. He seems like more of a second-round pick to me with his injury history, but I could be wrong. So Phil the Jet Adams wants to take old McDonald, young McDonald. All right, Caden McDonald it is. Now we're up to 33. And you can see here, we could keep going defense and we could get Akeem Mesidor. Now he has some injury concern. He's had surgery on both of his feet in his college career. But he put up a big year this year, and you saw what he could do in the Natty and all through the college football playoff. There's a cornerback. We could go wide receiver with Chris Bell. We could go R. Mason Thomas. We could go Jeremy Bernard if we want to build out the wide receiver room. We could go A.J. Halsey. We could go Emmanuel Pregnon. Now, Pregnon would be an option if we did not sign AVT or Johnny Simpson. But the feeling is that we're going to sign one of those two. So we probably don't need Pregnon. Zion Young's down here. So it seems to me that the pick is Mesidor. But we could go, I mean, if we want to go cornerback, if we're not happy with Stevens, Thomas, and Brown Lee as our cornerback trio starting, maybe we take a Keith Abney. Let's find out about Keith Abney. 86.3 grade. Last year, 66.2, 71.9 the year before that. Really good breakout year this year, seems like. 2 missed tackles. On defense. Oh, this, I mean, seems like a decent corner here. Cornerback or linebacker, tight end status. So, tight ends, we have Mason Taylor and Jeremy Ruckert. We do need a tight end at some point. I would not take one here. If you see, there's nobody even close. Eli Stowers is the first one, and he's at pick 50. So that would be quite a reach, even though he is a good prospect. So there's no one who really fits here. Superfan says maybe cornerback or linebacker. Well, my feeling on linebacker is in a 3-4, we're going to have Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, Jamian Sherwood, and I would say Alex Anzalone. Then behind that, we got Mauigoa, and I have a feeling we're going to sign Malcolm Rodriguez too. So that's 6 on the roster right there. So now cornerback, it really depends on if you think a guy like Abney is better than what we have. But obviously, we're looking at Halsey with our next pick if he makes it there. Here, I think it's between Mesidor or R. Mason Thomas. Who's better between Mesidor and Thomas? Who is the best safety in the draft? Well, this is the first one that comes up here. Halsey, A.J. Halsey. Now, I can't say I've done an extensive scouting on A.J. Halsey, but you see his grades here. Pretty good the last 2 years, 86.6 and 80.5. So, seems like he's the best one. LSU does produce a lot of good defensive backs, keep in mind. So, he's the highest on the draft board, and he's got pretty good grades. And then if he's not there, then we would take Dylan Thieneman. And you see his numbers. He's got a 91 grade this year, 72.4, 89.5. So these are two guys who are pretty close in terms of how PFF graded them anyway. So if we don't get Halsey, we'll get Thieneman, is the way I look at it. That's, to me, safety at 44 is going to be what it is. Because we have to sign one. In my free agency video, I signed Nick Cross, but there's a number of safeties available that we could sign. We got to sign one and draft one. So I'm going to go Mesidor here because we need more linemen. We need more because our line is so bad. Then at 44, we get to take... So Halsey goes to the Bengals. So he's gone, so then we're going to take Thieneman. Jeremy Bernard to the Giants. So the Giants are just taking all wide receivers, I guess. And this Titans pick at 35, you know what Salah's going to do? He's going to pick another defensive lineman. It's going to be all defensive line for the Titans. Get ready, Titan fans. Defensive line, 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 cornerback, defensive line. They're going to be like, what the hell's going on? All right, so here we got to take Thieneman. And there we go. That's how we fix the defense, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I don't know why. Thieneman's a C. We picked him at 44. He's 5 away from his draft board thing, big board number. But now you have a defense. I mean, and this is what signing a free agent quarterback does for you. I mean, this kid, Arvell Reese, is being compared to, I don't want to say it, but Arvell Reese is a very good prospect. Let's put it that way. As is Caden McDonald, he can do what we need him to do. Then Mesidor is just a guy who comes in the NASCAR package. We say, go kill the quarterback. And he says, okay, coach, I'll kill him. And he goes and gets him. And Thieneman is exactly what we need at the safety position. Smart, heady, knows what he's doing, good tackler, good range, all that stuff. Played for a big program at Oregon. And we pair him up with Nick Cross or whoever we sign at safety. Now we got good safeties. Our line is looking good. The linebacker's looking good. We should have a good defense. It's not that hard.